I'm an extremely grateful guitar geek today because I went from knowing very little about this Canadian guitar manufacturer to having first-hand experience with two exceptional guitars. Back on Acoustic Tuesday, episode 111, I got a chance to try out the Boucher Studio Goose, which was an OM hybrid with Brazilian mahogany back and sides, a stunning example of a great OM-sized guitar that has wonderful clarity, great power, but still has a ton of depth and body. Now, I thought immediately, this guitar is clearly the king of the heap in the Boucher line. However, I was very surprised and I was very wrong. While the Studio Goose is exceptional, the Heritage Goose, also a goose I might add, is a life-changing instrument, as one of our very own Acoustic Tuesday viewers put it in a recent comment. I had a chance to try out the Boucher HG56, the Heritage Goose. It has Indian rosewood back and sides, a torrefied red spruce top, and I gotta tell you, if you're a fingerstyle player, it's stunning. If you like guitars that conjure up the luthiery history or heritage, you're in for a treat because this guitar is exceptional. It's a monster. We're getting close to Halloween, and I want you to hear all about it. I want you to hear it, learn all about it. So come with me to my guitar den and on a little journey that I took with the Heritage Goose by Boucher. Here it is. Today, I get to check out the Boucher Heritage Goose 12 fret, which is a fingerstyle monster. Let's have a look. The HG56 out of the Heritage Goose series is like stepping into a time machine, back when 12-fret guitars ruled the earth. The back and sides of this model are East Indian rosewood, and a beautiful set I might add, really solid streaking and just a beautiful color. The top is a torrefied Adirondack spruce, which functions incredibly well, especially when paired with forward-shifted Adirondack spruce bracing. You'll also notice the herringbone on the top. Very gorgeous. You've got the purfling, the rosette, and on the purfling, it's right next to that beautiful maple binding. And speaking of maple binding, you've got a nice maple backstrip on the back as well. Up top, you got a slotted peg head with the Boucher logo inlaid, Grover open gear tuners, which match the vintage aesthetic, and this has the intimate concert pack, meaning it has a maple bound fretboard along with a K&K Pure Mini pickup. I'm sure you're drooling over this guitar, but you haven't heard it yet. So how does it sound? Well, let's take it to the studio and find out. So what do you think of the Boucher Heritage Goose HG56? Well, I downright love it, but I have three specific reasons why. Number one, playability. From the neck profile to the nut width, everything felt super comfy. You've got an 1 3/4 bone nut and a shallow neck profile, and I literally felt like the strings were just falling under my fingers. It was effortless to play this thing, and usually with wider nut guitars, I generally feel like there's a little bit of stretching going on. I didn't perceive that at all with this instrument. The second thing, tone. It is responsive and it issues this wonderfully articulate yet deep tone. And I love that. I feel like I barely had to touch the strings and it was freely offering sound. And furthermore, what I felt was that I could really dig into this guitar and it would provide volume as well. Again, whether I was flat picking or finger picking, I thought it issued a wonderful tone that was nice and clear like a bell, but it had a lot of body and meat to it, like a T-bone steak kind of a thing. And the third thing that I love, and this is purely aesthetic, is the look. From the torrefied top to the 12th fret, I just felt like this harkens back to an older golden era of guitar building, but with some modern appointments. Particularly, I love the inlay on the fretboard, and I love the look of the headstock. Nice and simple, but extremely effective. Overall, it's comfortable to play, it issues great tone, and it's pretty darn easy on the eyes as well. So keep up the great work, Boucher Guitars, and I gotta say, I really love this Heritage Goose. I wonder if you have a bunch of them, if it's geese, or if you have a smaller Boucher in the Goose series, it's a gosling. I don't know. You're gonna have to let me know. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and I want to give a special thanks to the folks at Sound Pure in Durham, North Carolina. They are the folks that actually arranged getting those Boucher guitars here, and I am extremely grateful that they were so willing to send them, because otherwise I don't think I would have been able to try them out. That Heritage Goose, man, they just emailed us and said, hey, you ready to send those guitars back yet? And I said, no. In all seriousness, that HG56 is a great guitar. Talk about comfort of playability and just one of those guitars that's downright fun to play. You sit down to try it out and pretty soon an hour has passed and you're like, whoa, where the hell did the time go? So please check that out if you ever get a chance. If you know a guitar geek that has a Boucher Heritage Goose, check it out. If you happen to see one in a store, pull it off the wall, give it a strum, give it a pluck. I think you will really enjoy the experience. All right, last week on Acoustic Tuesday, we had the Wasinator Stomp Off of 2019. We learned a little bit about one of our very own Acoustic Tuesday viewers, Sharon. We checked in on her acoustic life story. I played a tune for you, and that tune was called If Light Was Liquid, and we got a visit from Dr. Turtle. Yes, a real doctor, a reptilian or amphibian doctor. I can't remember which a turtle is. Maybe neither, I'm not sure. This week on Acoustic Tuesday, you've already learned about the Boucher HG56. John Lowell, amazing flat picker, is back. Matt is also back, and he's going to talk about a local luthier that he had a wonderful experience with, and we're gonna light a bit of flat picking fire for all of you flat picking fans. That is all coming up right after this. I'm Tony Polecastro, and this is the Acoustic Tuesday Show. Guitar geeks, unite. Welcome to Acoustic Tuesday, episode number 113. This is the show where you're going to learn about acoustic guitar gear, discover acoustic artists, and get inspired to live your very best acoustic life. As with all episodes of Acoustic Tuesday, I'm going to share with you my guitar geek list for the week. But before I dive into that, I have your guitar geek trivia question. And here it is. How many total locations have Guild Guitars called home since their start in 1952? Was it 4, 5, 6, or 7? Go ahead and ponder that, and at the end of the show, I'll be sure to reveal the answer with a really fun graphic. It's actually a really cool graphic I want you to see, especially if you're a guitar geek. You're gonna love this graphic. In fact, I think it should be kind of a poster. Anyways, you'll see at the end of the show. Now, before I dig into the guitar geekiness that is Acoustic Tuesday, I have to introduce to you the man behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons and focusing the cameras, and just basically being, well, we'll call him a stud muffin, for lack of a better term. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Noah Jacob Heckman Jr. the first. Cheers, Noah. How are you doing?
Tony, happy Tuesday. And if my memory serves me correctly, because I know this came up last week, turtles are reptiles.
Yes, we did talk about this last week, and I posed the same exact question because I wasn't sure, and I originally called turtles amphibians, but they're not.
Well, you weren't sure. Operations pretty much got shut down at Acoustic Live Studios until we got to the bottom of it and figured it out.
Now, I feel a little bit ashamed that I didn't know that. Being a young Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, I believe Reptile was in their theme song.
Ooh.
Am I correct? I know they had attitude.
I think you're right.
Michelangelo was a party dude. Raphael had the attitude. Michelangelo was a party dude.
Right, I remember that.
I don't know the other
Raphael was cool but rude. Yeah.
Wait, who had the attitude?
So
then?
it was Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines.
Oh,
Raphael
that's
is cool
right.
but rude. Give me a break.
It was
Michelangelo was a party dude, and then he's like, whoa!
We need to stop and pull it back on the rails.
We need to stop.
My shining twins fell over already. Oh, we're really derailed already. Let's get back on track.
Okay.
I want to dive into the What Do You Think segment because I have something that may very well split the Acoustic Tuesday viewers in terms of opinion. Now, we talked about Billy Strings last episode. Love his new album. Please go listen to it. Go get it. It is a masterpiece. It's a modern bluegrass masterpiece. I believe that was the same phrase I uttered last episode. But, you know, in thinking about Billy Strings, I thought, gosh, I wonder what the Acoustic Tuesday viewers think about affected acoustic guitars. What do I mean by that? I mean acoustic guitars that are run through electric guitar effects pedals to make them sound like, well, not really acoustic at all anymore. And the first person that came to mind was Billy Strings. And just so we're all on the same page, I want you to take a look at this recent performance by Billy Strings, and he'll give you a little taste of the acoustic guitar, then he'll take you into outer space, then he'll come back, and then I want to know what you think. So without further ado, here's Billy Strings. Now, I have no idea what that effect was, but I thought it was pretty cool. So what do I think about affected acoustic guitars? Well, I think if done tastefully as Billy Strings does it in kind of a jam setting, and not all the time, I really like it. So I think I like affected acoustic guitars in moderation. I love the effects that he chooses. They're a little bit outside the box, but it's matches the jams that happen at a Billy Strings show. You know, they kind of push the borders a little bit and then they bring it back. And I really, really like that. I think it's extremely effective, pun intended. Yeah, +1 on the pun scale for me today. No, I really enjoy it. I think it's a cool take at a classic instrument, and I love that he maintains kind of the roots as well. He's perfect with acoustic guitar tone, but when he adds the effects, it's very tasteful and done so in a way that is exploratory. Noah, I'm going to kick it over to you. What are your thoughts on an affected acoustic guitar?
Now, I have to say, you choosing Billy to do this has forced me to go deeper than I otherwise would have. Because I think if you would have just picked some random schmo doing, you know, like some Russian guitarist playing, you know,
nylon string
electric guitar solo.
Forgot about that.
So here's what I think where it falls. The reason, okay, so I agree with what you said. Let me start there.
Okay.
I agree with your assessment of it. But see, Billy, he's earned the right to do that. That's where it goes for me.
Okay.
I think you have to earn that. You've established yourself clearly, you know, as a solid acoustic guitar player, lover, you know, an acoustic guitar geek.
Yeah.
And then you start to go outside of the box.
Interesting.
With the things that you talked about, you know, like being tasteful about it, making sure that it incorporates into the overall sound, that kind of stuff. But if you're going to go buy an acoustic guitar and then just happen to just pick up a pedal and then go,
not so much.
Not so much.
Interesting. Well, that's cool. You bring up a good point because his first album, or one of his EPs, Fiddle Tune X, is just him playing fiddle tunes, and it is pure. I mean, it is rootsy acoustic guitar tone, raw, unfiltered acoustic guitar, and it's amazing. But then as you follow the progression of his albums, Tinfoil and Turmoil, and then now Home, I believe, Home is the name of the new album, you can tell that the integration of effects is done so in Well, in moderation, much as I had mentioned before. So that's our take on affected acoustic guitars, but we want to know what you think. So in the comments below, please let us know. Are you in the camp that loves effects on acoustic guitars and think it's additive? Or do you think that putting effects on a beautiful sounding acoustic guitar is like cardinal sin #1 for a guitar geek? Or are you somewhere in the middle? Go ahead and explain in the comments below, and we'll feature some comments on a future episode because it's always fun to start that guitar geek conversation. Speaking of guitar geek conversations, Matt joined us some months ago now for the Acoustic Life Festival, and while he was here, we sat down and filmed a bunch of stuff because I love bending his ear about topics that I think, well, just kind of our cool acoustic guitar geek topics. And one particular luthier came up. In fact, while Matt was here, he had the joy of spending some time with said local luthier, who's actually just a few miles from Acoustic Life Studios, and he had quite the experience and shed some light on it. So here is Matt sharing his thoughts on Kevin Kopp and his acoustic guitar building skills. So Matt, you've had a chance to be in Bozeman for a bit, and other than enjoying, good food, the mountains, and all the glorious things that Bozeman has to offer, Bozeman happens to be home to a pretty amazing luthier in Kevin Kopp. And I'm a little jealous, but I'm going to live vicariously through you because you had a chance to actually go to Kevin's shop. Can you start us off with your first exposure to Kevin's guitars and what intrigued you about them?
Well, I learned about Kevin's guitars first probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
And they basically just came really highly recommended to me by a number of different customers of mine who had experience with his guitars.
Sure.
And it only took about 3 different individuals of customers of mine to come to me and say, you've got to at least be aware of this guy's stuff, for me to reach out to him and say, I've never played one of your guitars before, but I've heard glowing things about them. I'd like to at least have a conversation here, And he was gracious enough to build us one guitar originally. It was a K35, was the first one I had played from him. That's kind of his classic J35 kind of inspired guitar. And it was a killer. I mean, everything he makes is killer. It's real traditional, real woody. It's just got that soul to it, that old soul to it. I really like that.
He's a fascinating builder because, from what I understand, is he actually did work in the Gibson custom shop at one point, began doing some repair work, and then kind of slowly started dipping his toe into building his own stuff, and now he's full-on solo small bench builder. And I've always kind of thought of him as he's the guy, and this might ruffle some feathers, and I don't mean it to, but he's the guy that is building Gibsons the way that they should be built.
Exactly.
And I don't say that to knock Gibson. I just think Kevin really puts the care and attention to detail that a larger manufacturer can't.
Well, what Kevin's doing is honoring what Gibson built in their golden era. In terms of the acoustic end, anyway, he's honoring what they were doing back then.
For sure.
That doesn't necessarily make him the most money out of any other guitar project ever necessarily, but it's a labor of love, you can tell. And I mean, the instruments just have something to them that a lot of others don't. It's really cool.
Well, I want to talk about your visit to the shop because I know that you spoke to me. We went out to dinner last night. We watched the St. Louis Blues win the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Go Blues, for now, until I become a Hawks fan again.
See about that.
We talked about some of the wood that he has at the shop, and also some guitars that you played there that surprised you.
Yeah.
I want to start on the kind of the rough part, the wood part. Sure. So you said that he basically started showing you some of the raw sets back in Sidewood that he has. Can you tell me a little bit about how he kind of we'll call it graduated you through?
He had there was definitely a method to his madness. For sure. I think he kind of had it figured out. So I told him, everything he has in terms of maple and mahogany is killer stuff. So it was like, if I ever have to spec a guitar with you that's maple or mahogany, man, you pick the wood and you run with it. The Rosewood stuff in particular is kind of what I was interested in seeing.
Sure.
It varies so much, just in its appearance and in its sound. And Rosewood's always been really fascinating to me, especially in its raw form. You know? But so he pulls out some Madagascar rosewood. He's like, this is really great stuff. And
Yeah.
so we start pulling some sets out and looking at them. I'm like, yeah, man, this like, how long have you had this? He's like, oh man, I'm a major wood hoarder. He's like, I find good wood and I buy it almost no matter what, and I sit on it. So we're looking at some just beautiful Madagascar rosewood, and I picked out a couple sets. I said, put my name on these, and he said, you want to see the great Madagascar rosewood? I said, how much greater is it than this amazing stuff we've been looking at?
Yeah.
You know? And he goes, hang on a second. He goes and gets a smaller stack, and puts it on the table, and starts divvying it out. And it was some special wood. You could tell it was a very old, perfectly quarter sawn, just like, you know, what everybody wants.
So that was what I was going to ask is when you say like great, what makes it great in your mind? Is it the fact that it's quarter sawn, straight grain, just a beautiful specimen of just the perfectly straight tree if there ever was one, or is it wildly figured?
The stuff we were looking at in terms of the Madagascar rosewood specifically, I was looking for like the dead straight.
Okay.
Maybe hints of those real inky black stripes. You know, I really like that look. But yeah, it's just the grain orientation, how tight the grain was, how straight it was, how quartered it was. It was rare stuff to see.
Sure.
Now, you know, 30 years ago, you probably could have found some of this stuff, but I know he bought it a long time ago, and whoever he got the wood from had it for quite some time. So it's been, you know, slowly, quietly seasoning on his shelves there, you know, turning into magic wood, you know. So that's the Madagascar part.
Yeah, so I'm like chomping at the bit. I'm like, okay, are we done with Madagascar yet? Because I know it sounds like maybe Tone, come on, Madagascar rosewood, really good quality, amazing Madagascar rosewood. Do you need more? The answer is yes, I do need more. So Matt, continue the tour of the halls of wood at the Kevin Kopp shop.
Well, maybe I should start by saying I've had several Brazilian rosewood guitars in our shop from Kevin that he's built for us. All gorgeous. You know, you can just tell it's beautiful, beautiful wood. Of course, his voicing job and build process just does have all of it justice. Starts pulling some Brazilian down, and all of it was gorgeous. But there were about 3 or 4 sets that were honestly polar opposites style-wise of wood from each other. But he had a couple that were, again, dead straight.
Yeah.
He had one that if it was lighter in color, you would have thought it was like a 59 Les Paul top.
No way.
It was so flamed all the way down. I'm talking ripple flames. Brazilian rosewood. Quarter sawn Brazilian rosewood. Not flat sawn stump wood.
Right,
you know, it's the real deal stuff. And oxidized as hell. You know, just super weird colors and stuff because it's been exposed to oxygen for so long. But so he really set me loose in the vault. If there were ever a vault, I was in it. And very gracious with his time. I would have liked to have spent a little more time with him, but it just an awesome guy. Really a admirable builder. For sure. Awesome.
So I'm just kind of curious. I mean, for somebody that would be interested in a guitar, like somebody whose name rhymes with Shmoney, like how many sets did you pick out?
A total of about 7, I want to say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the next question. So you pick out these sets of woods. What's your process as, you know, because you order the custom guitars for Eddie's. Do you wait for a customer to match the set with, or do you have kind of some ideas and you're thinking, okay, well, we'll do a K35 with this set, and we'll do like an L00 with this set. What's your process? Do you just kind of hang on to it until the right person comes along, or?
Well, it depends. In a situation where somebody is as gracious as Kevin was and just said, you know, pick out what you want, we'll put your name on it, we'll build with it when you want to build with it. You don't have to decide today.
Sure.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
What I'll typically do is find some sets that immediately inspire me and get the gears turning as far as you know, size wise, what's it appropriate for? What can you make out of it?
Right.
And kind of go from there and just think of think of what you want it to look like, how you want it to sound, what you want it to do, and kind of start daydreaming specs there, and probably goes without saying that's the best part of it for me. You know, just kind of building your own dream guitar without having to plunk the money down. Personally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of in a unique spot because you have the ability to, I wonder how this sounds.
Exactly.
And you can have it made, and you're not necessarily on the hook for it. What's
cool about that too is if it's, when it comes in, obviously we make all sorts of judgments about it and gather all sorts of information on how it sounds and how it feels. And for me, that's very useful in who is this right for? You know?
Right.
Obviously, I don't buy every single guitar I spec.
Right.
Other people do. And so being able to see how the thing turns out, especially if it's really unique and you've never played one like it before in terms of the build and specs, but you can kind of start envisioning different individuals that you know and have worked with in the past, sitting with it, and enjoying it, and thinking this would be right up their alley, and then you know who to start calling.
For sure. Well, and I have to say, as an aside, Matt's done this on my behalf a couple of times, where I'll call him interested in the guitar, and he'll say, "Yeah, good guitar." He's like, "I don't know if this is going to be a good fit for you personally," and I think that just goes to show, you know, with acoustic guitars, you know, each one's so different, and there's really not. There comes a point where if the build quality's good, if the materials are good, if the luthier's amazing, you're going to get a good guitar. It's just a matter of who's it for.
What flavor you like. Yeah, exactly.
Which leads me to something we were talking about at dinner last night, and that was we were talking with your customer Pete, because he went out to dinner with us, and he was talking about an LOO. He's got a vintage LOO. It's a beautiful guitar. And then my first question was like, did you get a chance to look at any LOOs at Kevin's shop?
Yeah.
And you had described one, and immediately, talk about judging things, you said it was an Engelmann top.
Correct.
Was it rosewood back and sides, or was it mahogany? Okay, it was mahogany. And immediately, I think we had similar initial thoughts.
Right.
I didn't have a chance to play it. You did. And I was like, Engelmann on an LOO, interesting. Is it going to have the bark? Is it going to have the grit and the rawness that you want from an LOO, kind of a blues finger-picking machine? So give us what you played through at Kevin's shop. What's the scoop on that LOO?
Well, I mean, it's what I experienced is absolutely a testament to what power the builder has, man.
Yeah.
When I think of Engelmann spruce, the last thing I think of is growl and snarl. You know, that's the last thing I think of. I think of delicate, beautiful, you know, sustain overtones.
Sure.
Not punch you in the neck and, you know, take off with your money, you know. It was crazy. It was, and he kind of even echoed the same thing. He said, I don't think many people associate Engelmann with sounding like this.
Yeah.
It absolutely can, though. And it was like just this killer punch and mid-range to it.
Yeah.
Again, this old soul, it just has, you know, and I would have sworn up and down it was an Adirondack top if I had not been able to, like, see it. You know, you can kind of tell it's a different look under the sunburst compared to Red Spruce, but I would have sworn it was Adirondack.
Yeah.
It was cool. Yeah, Engelmann spruce and mahogany on that one. Great guitar. I mean, the other one I played there that I was just floored by, first one I'd ever played, too. Was his, it's kind of a more recent thing he's been doing. He calls it an RJ.
Okay.
Which is kind of a gentle, tactful way of referencing Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
So he's building like an L1, little bitty 12-fret guitar.
Yeah.
The one he had there that he let me play was also Engelmann.
Okay.
Mahogany back and side. Same effect, just in a different context a little bit, but it had this old woody kind of grit to it, like you said, and it just made you want to play a certain way. It's like it made you want to kind of thump on it, you know? And it totally captured that.
It's so, and I think it's a huge testament to the builder, because I think as guitar geeks, as folks that are interested in guitar, and I'm guilty of this, and I'm assuming you are too, because you're around so many things at once. You lump tone woods in a certain category. Adirondack is this, Engelmann is this, cedar is this, redwood is this. And I think, as you mentioned, I'll just echo, yeah, I think you can get a general idea of the characteristics, but it's in the builder's hands how they voice it, how they brace it, how they kind of give it their special sonic stamp that really transforms the guitar. Because, man, when you described that LOO, I was like, oh, no, that doesn't seem right. And then your tone report of it, I was just like, okay, now I'm interested in that. I'm interested in that. And here's the funny thing is that I live in Bozeman. Kevin's like maybe 3 miles from our studio.
Right.
I've never been to Kevin's shop once.
Shame on you.
I know, he's like right in the backyard. And Matt's like, yeah, I'm going to Kevin's shop. And I'm like, oh, okay. Take pictures, please. So I just want to thank you, Matt, for sharing your story at Kevin's place there. And if you find yourself interested in any of Kevin Kopp's guitars, or maybe speccing out a custom instrument, make sure to give Matt a call. I'll say this once and again. I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. And I think Matt's really an asset to the guitar geek and acoustic guitar community. The guy just knows his stuff. He's a geek through and through. At dinner last night, although the Stanley Cup final was happening, there was so much guitar talk at the table. And it's just, when Matt comes to town, it's just like we just pick each other's brains all day. And so, yeah, bottom line, if you're interested in a custom guitar, especially if you're interested in one of the sets that Matt had picked out, make sure to contact him at Eddie's Guitars. As I mentioned, Matt's the best in the business. He's talked me out of guitars before, so he has this he walks that line between, I want you to be happy with this guitar, not just today because it's new, but in the long run, I want you to be happy with it. So I know this is not an Eddie's Guitars commercial, but I just think Matt is one of those guitar geeks you need to know and you need to hook up with. So there you go. That's Matt's experience at Kevin Kopp's. If you're ever in Bozeman, make sure to reach out too, because Kevin is he's a gracious host and a very knowledgeable builder.
Super cool.
So thanks again, Matt. Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I want to thank Matt for his time sitting down chatting about Kevin Kopp with us. I've always admired Kevin Kopp's building. I think he has great care in not only building wonderful instruments, but throughout the process, he treats the materials with due respect, and even has some amazing stories about even sourcing materials. In fact, one such guitar that Matt and I talked about was that small body kind of blues guitar that featured a top wood that we were both kind of questioning, but according to Matt, after he played it, it was pretty much one of those guitars that knocks your socks through the wall, through your next door neighbor's wall, and directly onto their dinner plate. I know, it's a powerful guitar when it knocks your socks off that far. All right, I want to dive into some comments. What's that?
I gotta say, and your socks through the wall.
Yeah.
Not your shoes.
No.
Your socks.
No, it's a situation in which the socks blow out the front of your shoes.
Your toe socks.
Yeah, toe socks. Moving on to some comments from Acoustic Tuesday, episode number 110. Now, I'll just quickly remind you, in episode 110, we discussed a ton of topics, but one of the most heated ones was Game of Thrones guitars. What's the deal with these things? Cool, not cool, weird? Well, you certainly spoke up, so I have some comments to share, but let's kick things off with a small one. From Robert R. He said, small win. Just finished watching Devil at the Crossroads about Robert Johnson for the third time. Have told many folks who were not blues lovers, and now a few want more blues. Thank you for the recommendation, Bob from Norton, Ohio. Well, you're welcome, Bob. In fact, that was one of those documentaries that I think I mentioned it at the beginning. Devil at the Crossroads is about Robert Johnson, his story, but it's done in an animated fashion that makes it very much consumable for the whole family. It's actually a really cool story and reveals a lot of history of the blues and may even spark some interest as you and your friends have experienced. Our next comment comes from Larry M. Here we go with the Game of Thrones guitars. The Game of Thrones guitars are cool looking. If someone has $25,000 to $35,000 to spend on a novelty collector guitar, then it's probably good to be them. And I agree, Larry, for certain. If you have the disposable income to purchase a Game of Thrones guitar, that's cool, man. That's real cool.
Is that how much it is?
I didn't check. I just read the comment and thought, well, I guess they could very well be that. I wonder if the licensing I bet you the licensing drives up the price. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, yeah.
But I don't know the accurate price on those.
Who does it ultimately benefit, though? Does it benefit Fender more than the franchise or whatever that's called? I don't know.
I don't know. It's a good question. Compound, what do you think? Our next comment comes from Richard G. Hi, guys. Rick in San Francisco here. Thought you'd like to know that Ramblin' Jack Elliott is still playing gigs at 88 years old. He turned 88 on August 1st. He played, and I hope he still does, the definitive version of San Francisco Bay Blues. Very cool comment, Rick, and I have to say this. Ramblin' Jack Elliott was through Livingston, I want to say about 3 years ago, and my friend's mom, former bandmate, his mom went and actually sat down and had breakfast with him. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. I just got goosebumps talking about it because I saw a picture, and it was them. I believe they were at Gill's Goods, which is a place in Livingston. Great place for breakfast and lunch, and it's just an all-around rad place. But there was Ramblin' Jack with a banjo case next to him in his hat, looking quite cheery, and my friend's mother there just having breakfast, which I thought was, I guess, one of those moments where you're like, is this pinch me right now? This is cool. Our next comment, coming back to the Game of Thrones guitars, is from Tom D. Checking in from Knoxville, Tennessee. Another great show, guys. I'm completely in agreement on the Game of Thrones guitar. Just not a fan. As a Scotch lover, I felt the same with the Game of Thrones Johnny Walker, although I did buy a bottle. Martin does this stuff sometimes too, like the American Chopper's guitar, but I just don't see the tie-in. I love the Heartbreaker guitar spots, but I'm always left heartbroken that I was born handsome instead of rich. Very cool. Now, Noah, you also purchased the Johnny Walker, the White Walker, is that correct?
Correct.
And thoughts?
Well,
Report?
I'll say this. It's not disappointing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm personally haven't been much of a blended Scotch whiskey guy, although recently, as you saw, I stumbled across the Dimple Pinch, and that is maybe another conversation for another time. But as we've discussed, I was reading the series, am still in the series, and I did pick up a bottle of the White Walker to drink specifically while I read, and it's only like $50. So a $50 novelty White Walker Johnny Walker blend, I would buy it again. Okay,
that's fair. That's fair. Very cool.
Of course, I think you made fun of me when I came in with it.
I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah.
Our next comment comes from the Windy City, from Daddy0307, and he says this: I cannot urge everyone here enough to watch Ken Burns' series, Country Music. To be re-exposed to the origins of what at the outset was an acoustic-based genre was reawakening of sorts. When you realize what a huge community-based experience it was for thousands, if not millions, of everyday folks to constantly gather together with family, friends, and neighbors to play music and sing, it's partly sad to see how the years have lessened that. Thank goodness there are modern communities like this and others, as well as occasional places where it's still easy to gather with like minds and hearts. Whenever one of us reaches out to another to play or sing, even if it's to only one person, we are still carrying on that legacy. May we all keep sharing and growing. I love this comment. I specifically picked it because I haven't had a chance to see the Ken Burns documentary series yet, that country music one. However, I've heard a lot of interviews with Ken Burns about it and about some of the other stuff that Ken Burns has been a part of. And he has seemingly an interesting approach and a very extensive research involved with these documentaries. And I also chose this quote, this comment, because of the quote at the end about just reaching out to one other person to play, and how that really does kind of, as guitar geeks, we're kind of torchbearers, and we should feel a small sense of obligation to bring other people into this tradition, this music sharing and growing tradition, and it ultimately helps us all, and it helps the music grow and continue to impact lives. So thank you, Daddy0307. And our last comment, again, back to the Game of Thrones guitars, comes from Pat C, and he says, if Game of Thrones or Fender can make some money, great. And I kind of like the looks of the guitars, but I would not pony up for the upgrade. Thank you for the song. But what really blew me away was the tone from your resonator. I was listening to YouTube while starting dinner, loved the song, and was fascinated by the sound of that guitar, and was really surprised when I saw it was a steel body resonator. Great show again. And that's Pat from Missoula. That's not the last we'll hear from Pat. In fact, I actually had the chance to meet Pat last weekend at a race that I ran we'll get to that story a little bit later. But the guitar he was referring to was the guitar I played on the song Take My Heart. I believe it was, episode 109. And it was a mule resophonic guitar, a tricone mule resophonic guitar, and it was a steel body. And one of my favorite resonators that I have. I have two. I have a National and a mule, and I have to say, I have to be honest here. I think the mule gets about 95% of the attention. That doesn't mean the National sounds bad. I just find it really comfortable to play, and I love the sound that it produces. So that's that. Coming up, we've got quite possibly the largest mailbag ever featured on Acoustic Tuesday, and your trivia answer. And I've got an artist for you that will either make you want to burn your acoustic guitar or practice really, really hard, because that's exactly what he did for me. But speaking of, well, not burning instruments, but fiery flat pickers, on Acoustic Tuesday episode number 108, we heard from John Lowell. Now, John Lowell is a friend of mine, a fantastic local flat picker he teaches at camps, he plays worldwide, he's always seemingly on tour or playing gigs, and just an all-around nice dude. And speaking of him being nice, he took time out of his busy schedule to answer our Acoustic Life questions. So let me reintroduce you to John Lowell and his answers to our questions.
Hi, this is John Lowell, and I'm here to answer 3 acoustic questions. Since I'm just here by myself, except for my lovely wife who is filming this, I'm going to ask the questions myself and then I'll answer them. The first question is, who is an artist that's under the radar that people should know about? The answer is Ben Winship. Ben is a mandolin player, an old friend of mine, lives down in Victor, Idaho. He just came out with 2 great CDs. I highly recommend them. And there's guitars on both of them. But he's been around for a long time, and we've been playing music together for a long time. But he's under the radar, and he deserves to be heard. Second question is, John, what's your favorite acoustic guitar and why? And the answer to that is, John, this one right here. It's a 1958 D21. It was given to me by a friend who was passed on, and he was a guitar player and a songwriter and singer. I play this guitar every chance I get. I don't fly with it because I don't trust the airlines, and I can't replace this thing, so I'm afraid they'll lose it or break it, or both. But I love this guitar. It sounds like $1 million, and I just like playing old Martins. It's a Brazilian rosewood tortoiseshell binding. It's got Waverly W9s. What do you call these things? Old Waverleys. They're new Waverleys, look old. Last question I'm going to ask myself is, what's the best piece of gear that's changed my life, my acoustic life? Well, it would change any musician's life, and that's a metronome. I highly recommend a metronome. It's the one piece of gear that any musician can use, whether they're a clarinet player, trombone player, piano player, or guitar player. Metronome will improve your music, your timing, and your sensibilities of how to play music more than any one piece of gear. That's it, a metronome, absolutely. So, this is John Lowell signing off. Cheers, Tony, and Guitar Geeks Unite.
Huge thanks again to John Lowell for sharing his time with us. That was right prior to him leaving for Germany on a quick tour. And also, I want to say this, he just released a brand spanking new album. So if you go to Spotify or, of course, his website, you'll be able to purchase that, listen to it, and enjoy it. On that album, there is a serious list of heavy-hitting players. I'm talking a ton of players that you're just like, holy cow, because that's exactly what I did. When I saw the list of players, I was like, I can't, wow, it's like a bluegrass all-star team. Like, I look forward to the NHL All-Star Weekend. This is like John Lowell's all-star bluegrass band for an album. It's really, really cool. So please check that out. And to learn more about John Lowell, you can go to acousticlife.tv/AT108. You'll have links to his website, links to purchase albums, the whole deal. All right, moving on. Oh, yeah, we got to hit some guitarsenals. In fact, this is going to be a pretty solid collection of pictures from our very own Acoustic Tuesday viewers. I've got some wonderful stuff that was submitted, and I want to share that with you. In fact, our first guitarsenal comes from none other than Pat C. from Missoula, Montana. Before I dig into his guitarsenal, I do want to share the story of me meeting him. So I was signed up for a 100K race. 100K is a 63-mile race. Basically, if you finish, you win. And I've been training all summer long, doing a bunch of runs, really long runs, trying to get in shape for this race. And about 2 weeks prior to the race, I did the Bozeman Marathon. I posted my best time ever for a marathon for me, which I thought was great. But right around mile 14, I felt a little tweak and twinge in my knee, and it didn't feel great. The next day was really sore. I was kind of limping around like a goofball. And I went to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor, awesome chiropractor, one of my dear friends, Brett DeCou here in Bozeman. He's like, I'm not comfortable working on your leg right now because I don't know what's actually going on. He recommended I got imaging. Long story short, I got an MRI. I have a torn medial meniscus in my left knee. And I was really bummed because I had to make a decision about running this race or not running this race. And in an effort to still play hockey, I decided I'm not going to do the 100K. However, I did participate in the relay. So it was a 6-person relay team. We still did 63 miles, but it was split amongst 6 people. I took the first lap. It was pitch black when we started, almost pitch black when I finished. So I finished this 10.5-mile loop, and I'm crossing the finish line, and I hear somebody go, "Tony!" And I'm like in a daze because I don't know what's happening. My knee's kind of sore. I'm not feeling great. Later on, we're hanging around, and this guy comes up. He's like, "Hey, Pat C." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm about to feature your guitarsenal." So with that story, let me introduce to you Pat C. and his guitarsenal. He says, on the left, my first ever brand new guitar, a 2019 Squier Affinity Telecaster named Butters, after Butterscotch on the show South Park. Next is Daisy, my 2-string Dukes of Hazzard guitar that was a gift from friends with a great sense of humor. I'm holding my 2001 Martin HD28. She has no name, but she's my baby. And to the right, my left, is my Flint Hill round neck resonator named Wilma. Flint Hill, Flintstone, you get the idea. The Martin and the Tele get most of my attention, but I love them all for different reasons. Thank you for helping me keep inspired. And you would not believe the compliments I've gotten for the Guitarsenal shirt in the past year at various festivals and concert. Cheers, Pat in Missoula. Now, one other thing. Pat was actually announcing the race, the runners that would cross the finish line or the runners doing laps, and he did an awesome job. Not to mention, his band played from noon to 3. So I met Pat, I saw his band, got a chance to hang. We even sipped a little bit of bourbon, on the down low. It was really great, and I heard that very Martin HD28. It sounded great, and I'm just pleased to have made that acquaintance. So thanks, Pat, for a great, awesome weekend, and thanks for being a guitar geek. Our next guitarsenal is a fantastic one because it involves the whole family. Don, Elizabeth, and Martin P. from Syracuse, New York. We've got in this guitarsenal a Yamaha FG700S, a Godin 5th Avenue Kingpin, a Gibson HP 415, a Taylor GS Mini Bass, and the one that steals my heart, the BC Rich Warlock with green crackle finish. Fantastic. My first guitar ever was a BC Rich Mockingbird, so this one hit home. And Noah, you made a comment about some dad moves in there. Can you please share the comment you made? Because I think it's dead on.
Well, it started with you looking at, what was the little man's name there?
I'm not sure. It's either Don or Martin. I want to say it's Martin because if it's listed in the order.
Right. Okay.
We'll go with Martin, and if I'm wrong, I apologize.
All right. Well, you were curious as to what little Martin there was doing, and I suggested, well, maybe he was doing like an upstroke on the strings.
Yeah, because I thought he was doing the rock and roll.
And I'm like, yeah. But I was looking at Dad and thinking the look on his face right now is that combination of like, this is so cool that I'm doing this, but he's not even looking at the camera because he wants to make sure that nothing happens to that green crackle BC Rich guitar. So he's just like waiting for it to slip off the strap or something, and he's ready to catch it. And then you said something like classic dad move.
Yeah, it's like, of course Noah picked up on that because he's got 6 of them to manage. So I think Noah's like a black belt in dad moves. So let's move on to our next picture. This is not so much a guitarsenal, but this next person I'd like to dub an Acoustic Tuesday Angel because she, Wendy D., purchased an Acoustic Tuesday for Vets shirt, which of course supports our huge fundraising efforts for Guitars for Vets. More details on that in a second. But to what Wendy D said. Now, Wendy D is from East Booth Bay, Maine. And she says this: I'm honored to be a part of TAC and the Guitars for Vets fundraiser. I managed to get 2 of my guitars and a vacation location on the Damariscotta River in Maine. I probably butchered that name, but it's a river in Maine, Damariscotta. Damariscotta? One of those. But the pups would not cooperate. Guitar Geeks Unite for Vets. So thank you so much, Wendy, for being a part of our fundraising efforts. Thank you for being an awesome guitar geek. I had the pleasure of meeting Wendy at the Acoustic Live Festival this year, and it was just awesome. I think many laughs were shared, and it was a delight to get to meet her in person and see her play with other Guitar Geek friends. In fact, she was part of a, I gotta tell this story really quick. This is just a little bit of a segue, but one of her friends that she ran, I wanna say the New York Marathon with, some 25 years ago, they connected at the Acoustic Live Festival. It was the first they had seen each other in, I'll say 20 years. And it was just one of those cool moments, like music bringing people together. So, I don't know.
You didn't tell me this.
You didn't know that?
No.
I thought you knew that.
I had no idea.
Yes, and like shortly after, there was a post on Facebook, because we're Facebook friends, you know, we're cool, of the picture of them at the marathon some 20 years ago, and then the picture of them together at the Acoustic Live Festival.
Why didn't we share that?
It was so cool. Well, I did just share that. Oh, the picture you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it is. I mean, it's on Facebook,
Well,
but
anyway,
you know.
thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
Along with our other Acoustic Tuesday viewers.
Well, sorry. Well, I have cool other news.
Okay.
Speaking of music bringing folks together, I've got a G4V, Guitars for Vets donation alert. Stop the presses. I found this on Facebook. Robert R. met up with Guitars for Vets Cleveland, Ohio chapter organizer Mike G. And he says this: we had a great lunch meetup in Elyria, and I donated 3 guitars, a Woody James LP clone, a Yamaha F325, an MIA well-used pre-owned guitar. I hope they help and enjoy them. So very cool to see that donation happen. And I also want to share some other news. I've kind of been stalking the Guitars for Vets Facebook page because they've been posting pictures of the graduates, and I think it's so cool to actually see the good that Guitars for Vets does. I think in trying to describe it and saying, you know, putting the healing power of music in the hands of heroes is a great way to describe it, but it's so much more powerful to actually see the graduates, see them holding their guitar, see the smile on their face, see them with their chapter leader, their teacher for the session, and just to kind of wish them well on their guitar journey. So I want to highlight the Guitars for Vets chapter in Nebraska. Noah's going to flash some pictures of the recent graduates, so congratulations to them. Best of luck on your guitar journey, and welcome to Guitar Geekdom. We're happy you're here, and I didn't get names with these ones because they weren't posted, but again, I just want to say congratulations. And as those pictures are going by, I want to mention we are in the midst of a monster fundraiser for Guitars for Vets. I can say monster because it's almost Halloween. And to learn all about our fundraising efforts and to participate, please go to AT4Vets. AT4VETS.com. And you can, once you're there, you can participate in one of 4 ways. The first way is to pick up yourself an Acoustic Tuesday for Vets t-shirt, just like Wendy D did. You saw the picture. Once you purchase one of those Acoustic Tuesday for Vets merchandise pieces, all of the proceeds for that go directly to Guitars for Vets, and I would encourage you to share a picture of you wearing your Acoustic Tuesday for Vets merchandise so we can feature you on the show and, of course, bring more buzz around this fundraising effort. So that's the first way. The second way is to make a direct monetary donation. Again, you can go to at4vets.com, make a donation right on that page. Also, I would love for you in the comments below to leave a recommendation for a company that we should reach out to involve them in the Guitars for Vets fundraising. And then lastly, this is something you can all do right this very second, is please share the fundraiser. Just share the URL at4vets.com so other people know about this fundraising. It's something that's near and dear to our hearts as a Guitar Geek community, and I think with the power of all of the Guitar Geeks that gather, not only on Acoustic Tuesday, but our periphery guitar geeks that maybe haven't watched an episode of Acoustic Tuesday yet, or maybe don't even know about Guitars for Vets at all, I think they would be delighted to hear about it and delighted to participate. So please share the heck out of this fundraiser. It would mean a lot to not only Guitars for Vets, but the guitar geek community at large. Noah, we are cruising. We're gonna hop into the mailbag. And
Yeah.
I see a stack of things on your desk. You know, I would love for you to go first.
Oh,
Let's visit the mailbag.
well, I was contemplating this, and I almost considered just butting in and saying I'm going first.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, we're
Yeah.
clearly jiving then today because we're on the same page.
clearly. So with pleasure. Let me slide everything over.
Wow. Is that stack going to fall over? It's pretty tall.
Okay, so I'll try to be brief but clear. So one thing I received was I got sent from TAC member Barb S a DVD of one of her first open mic performances,
That's
and
awesome.
and that's pretty rad.
Congratulations.
A little sneak peek as her acoustic life story will be coming out in the near future. I also received a postcard. And if you can see that, it is a postcard of the Isla distilleries in Scotland, which is pretty cool. And it says this: Sir Noah, hope this addition to the mailbag. Cheers.
Another
up.
pun. That's two
Another
today.
pun. Cheers, you up. My best to TAC Nation. And that is from Robert G.
That is super cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, this other one was very interesting. I was not expecting this. Maybe I should do the letter first. I actually have a letter. I think this is a first for me, reading a letter. And this comes from Ron M., who is a regular Acoustic Tuesday viewer and commenter, who says, Sir Noah Jacob Heckman Jr., the first, and Tony, in parenthesis.
Oh, I see.
This letter
Fair.
comes from one of your many proud members of TAC. Sir Noah was in the Chicago area, and sadly I was not able to meet him or spend quality scotch and pie time together with him. I understand my fellow sisters and brothers in the Windy City Half and Whole Notes Jam Club took excellent care of Sir Noah. Indeed, they did. That makes me giddier than a little schoolgirl.
Wow. Is that a third pun?
Yeah, that was mine. I got to say, that was mine, though.
Oh, okay.
We were talking in the forums, and he talked about being giddy as a schoolgirl.
Yeah.
And we were discussing Rush.
Yeah.
So I threw out there, you mean Getty? Oh, man. So through Kathy S., I found out recently Noah's a fellow Rush fan like myself, and so are many others out there. Presented for your and Tony's enjoyment, drumroll, Kansas Audio Visions from 1980. Okay? And this is what we got. We got the Kansas Audio Visions vinyl with the clock on it that I unloosened and kind of broke, but I can fix it. And then what came separately was a frame
Oh, cool.
cover
Nice.
of the album.
Very cool.
So that was pretty much the bulk of what I got. So
Nice.
just a huge thanks to Ron and anyway, all of that.
Well, can I go now?
Yes.
Can you kick it over to me?
I was gonna popcorn Tony.
Okay. Well, I had some self-induced mail, if that's a thing, but it's really exciting. But there's a fly in here.
I
What
like
is this
that.
fly doing?
I like that self-induced mail.
Well, first of all, let me go to the non-self-induced mail. The folks at Graph Tech were so kind. They're Acoustic Tuesday viewers. We featured some of their picks before. They sent some picks. They also just released some thumb picks. I think they just released them, but I'm excited to try these out because I think they'll be great on the banjo, the guitar, and the dobro, but I haven't tried them out yet, but full report coming. They also let me in on their Tusk bridge pins to put on a guitar, which I'm excited to report on as well. And one of the things that has piqued my interest as of late are these ratio tuners that they've released. Now, the cool thing about these tuners is each string has a different gear ratio to make it function at its highest ability. So I'm gonna put these on. I have a 1956 0017 that is really just a player's guitar. It's kind of a Franken guitar. So I'm going to take the tuners that are on there, which are non-original. This guitar is 100% non-original, pretty much, except for the wood. So I'm going to put these on the guitar and report back and give you guys my thoughts on these ratio tuners. But I'm super pumped because you can even see in the description, or the picture rather, that each tuner has a different ratio judging on the string gauge to make it function at its highest ability. So thank you to the folks at Graph Tech for that. Speaking of effects on acoustic guitars, I watched the Billy Strings rig rundown that Premier Guitar did, and two pedals stuck out to me. And I think I've just opened up Pandora's box because I purchased the Electro-Harmonix Pitchfork, which is a pitch shifting pedal, and the Electro-Harmonix Freeze, which allows you to create these wonderful drone-like, bizarre, ethereal type effects. So I don't know what I'm doing with these. I'm not a pedal guy, but I'm gonna turn knobs and press buttons until something cool comes out. So those came in the mail as well. I received those from Pitbull Audio in California, I wanna say. Fast shipping, I found them on Reverb. Really, really happy. So cheers to those folks as well. I pre-ordered the Rob Ickes and Trey Hensley album, World Full of Blues. So the signed copy came in. I'm delighted. Congrats, Rob and Trey, on another album. I'm excited to throw this on the turntable because, well, these guys are incredible. I just plain and simple, they're incredible. Now, a couple episodes back, I featured Alexa Rose, who happens to be an acquaintance of mine, musical acquaintance of mine, as well as, and in that episode I said, you know, she's got great music, but I don't think she has any new albums out. And I had to just eat crow because she just released a new album, which just came out, and I just got Medicine for Living. And I just was listening to it on Spotify as we were setting up today, and I'm super delighted. In fact, it's cool because some of the same songs that were on her very first album are on this with some different treatments. And I just took a quick peek at the liner notes, and I saw that Clay Jones was involved with this album. Now, Clay Jones, if you don't know him, a fantastic acoustic guitar player, kind of a flat-picking player who's on some of these tracks. And I want to say he produced it. Hold on. Yeah, produced by Bruce Watson and Clay Jones. And recorded and mixed by Clay Jones, which is so cool. So shout out to Alexa, congratulations, awesome job. And shout out to Clay as well, who's a kind of an acoustic guitar hero of mine. Now this next one is well outside of the acoustic guitar realm, but my guilty pleasure is Blink-182. I love pop punk. I can't even hide that. I can't hide it. So I just got their new album on really cool, clear, splatter colored vinyl. And I ordered 2 copies because my brother-in-law, Connor, is a huge Blink-182 fan. So this one's still in the wrapping. That's the mailbag. Wow. I'm exhausted after. I feel like the mailbag should have been a separate episode.
Or definitely it's its own segment.
So moving along, we got an artist that actually ties into John Lowell, oddly enough. So I first met John Lowell at Weber Mandolins. You saw about him on Acoustic Tuesday, episode 108. He's got a new album out. And in talking with John Lowell when I was first meeting him, he's like, yeah, I got a chance to play with some great players at this camp I was doing. I taught along next to, so-and-so, so-and-so. And then this name came up and I was like, how did you get to teach next to this guy? This guy's incredible. I mean, John's incredible. Of course he could teach next to him. And the artist that we're listening to this week is Flatpicking Phenom. I don't even think Phenom's the right descriptor. He's just an incredible guitar player. Inventive, and his right hand is like a machine. It's amazing. He produces a beautiful tone. David Greer. David Greer is a flat picker that you absolutely need to know. If you don't know what flat picking is, if you don't know what bluegrass guitar is, that's okay. David Greer is a great first step in that direction. So without further ado, let's listen to The Beaumont Rag by David Greer. As you can see, his playing is completely effortless. From his right hand to his fretting hand, it's just this beautiful economy of motion. You could almost mute that and just watch him play, and just that's equally as satisfying as hearing the whole thing. When you turn up the volume, then your head explodes. So do so in small increments. There's another great clip that I wanted to share with you all, and I wanted to give a quick thanks to the individual responsible, aside from David Greer, for this clip. And the individual I'm talking about is Troy Grady. He has a YouTube channel, and I believe a separate site where he does lessons with some really phenomenal players: Molly Tuttle, David Greer. shoot, I forgot the other one I wanted to share. It'll come to me, I'm sure. But anyways, he has this wonderful way of filming these performances in which you can see the front-on performance, but he also has this odd clamp that he puts on the guitar so you can see the player's right hand. And I thought it was extremely educational, beautifully shot. So big thanks to Troy Grady. And here is David Greer playing Angeline the Baker. By far one of my favorite fiddle tunes of all time, and David Greer's treatment of it is beautiful. It's elegant. His twists of the melody, specifically the timing. What I love about hearing David play is that he'll retain the melody, but he'll give it these different timing treatments that like jumps a beat, and it kind of has you really engaged as a listener. One of the things that I'd love to learn from him directly. And I got one more, I had one more video clip. I was questioning on whether or not I should include it or not, but I just revealed Rob and Trey's new album, and I found this wonderful video put out by Pre-War Guitars, filmed at the Station Inn, of David Greer and Trey Hensley playing the tune Freight Train. Now, Freight Train is one of those tunes I associate with fingerpicking, but here's Trey and David playing this in such a way that just kind of has my mind blown. And one of the things in particular I want you to watch, we're gonna let this play for a little bit longer. So you'll hear David's solo, then it'll go over to Trey. Now, you're gonna be mesmerized by Trey's solo, but one of the things, since we're focused on David Greer here, I want you to see how he's playing rhythm and all of the cool, interesting things he's doing with rhythm guitar that really make this just a sonic delicacy, if you will. So here's David and Trey playing Freight Train. Now, when I first heard David Greer's music, I was struck. I found myself at a crossroads. I could either burn all my acoustic guitars, but I only had one at the time, or I could practice really hard. Now, I took the practice really hard route. However, somehow I think I'm missing something. So I think he needs to release a signature guitar somehow, so that's infused with his playing mojo, so that it just, a little bit can rub off on me, and maybe I can slightly attain David Greer-esque performances. But he actually does have a homespun instructional video out. Gosh, I want to say it was filmed in the mid-90s. It's really cool. There's a great version of, I think, Red Haired Boy and Cherokee Shuffle on it. I digress. Let's get to the albums that you should check out. The first one is called Freewheeling. It's the first one that I ever heard from David Greer, and the second one, Lone Soldier, another solo album. The third album is by a group called Psychograss. And then most recently, April 2019, David released a new album called Ways of the World. Purple title, or a purple cover with just some text on the title, but don't let that fool you. So make sure to check that out as well. So that's kind of the scoop on David Greer. Now, to learn more about David and see those performances in their entirety, please visit acousticlife.tv/AT. What number are we on? 113. acousticlife.tv/AT113. Did you raise your hand, Noah?
I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. I had not seen that clip with David Greer, right?
Yeah.
And Trey.
Yeah.
So when we were reviewing that before the show,
Uh-huh.
I was like geared up to. David is clearly a super solid player.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like pay attention to the right hand. You know what I mean? But when I knew Trey was in the clip, I was just kind of interested to see how it was going to go, and I expected my attention to be on Trey.
Uh-huh.
But when Trey took over the lead, and David went to the rhythm,
Yeah.
and his voicings that the chord
Exactly.
voicings that he chose
Yeah.
made me just go like
Yeah.
and went right back like
know.
holy smokes. So
He
Back up-
reminds me. Sorry, go ahead, Noah.
I just want to say, so folks watching this, back up and watch it again. If you missed it the first time.
One of the things that so there was a what is his name? He won Rocky Grass not last year, but I want to say 2 years ago. He played Arkansas Traveler, and he did that cool bass line. I cannot remember his name. He was on my list of top 10 young flat pickers. It was definitely a European name because I had a problem pronouncing it. He won the Thompson guitar that year. Anyways, very similar approach to interesting voicings and adding some bass stuff in that isn't a little non-traditional, but very much elevates the tune in a huge way. It doesn't take center stage, but elevates the tune, which I think is a sign of an awesome, awesome player. So again, David Greer, please visit acousticlife.tv/AT113 so you can take that masterclass in right-hand technique. Put on by, of course, David Greer. All right, well, we're close to wrapping this puppy up, but we've got to visit trivia. Okay, this is an incredible trivia question because this is one that I've always wondered about, and then I saw this graphic that you're going to see here in a second, and you're going to be like, whoa, mind-blowing. Anyways, so here was your question. As a quick reminder, how many total locations have Guild Guitars called home since their start in 1952? 4, 5, 6, or 7? Well, if you answered 7, you are correct, and that's a staggering amount of locations, and if you don't believe me, don't worry, I've got a list of all the locations. Since the company's start in 1952, Guild has called the following places home: Manhattan, New York in 1952, Hoboken, New Jersey in 1956, Waverly, Rhode Island in 1966, Corona, California in 1995, Tacoma, Washington in 2004, New Hartford, Connecticut 2008, and Oxnard, California 2014 to present. 7 locations. Holy smokes. Please stay in one spot for a while now, Guild. Please. Noah doesn't have high hopes, but
Nope.
but we'll see. Maybe that answer will change down the road. I could always reuse that trivia question later.
It's true.
Well, Noah, we're here.
You got it?
We have had a great night's sleep
Nope. Start
at the
over.
Best Western.
Nope.
No?
Start
Do you
over.
have one?
No, we've had several good night sleeps now. I need something new. I need like a, we've woken up to the rooster's crow.
Yeah, we've woken up to the crowing of the rooster. We've gone out and fed the chickens, collected the eggs, milked the cows, and we're ready for a solid, hearty farmer's breakfast. That is Acoustic Tuesday. So we will indulge, wipe our mouths, and then brew another pot of coffee. You really threw me. Thanks, Noah. And that coffee will not even be close to clear. You won't even be able to see through it at all. It'll be so far from vegetable soup that you could stick a spoon in it and it would stand straight up. Let's take a sneak peek into next week on Acoustic Tuesday. Next week on Acoustic Tuesday, you're going to see two-hand tapping in a genre where you would least expect it. This stunned me and had me immediately questioning everything about acoustic guitar. You got to check this out. Yasmin Williams is going to be back for another appearance on Acoustic Tuesday, and she has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 artists that you need to check out. She answered some questions, and her answers are awesome. You're going to get to know another Acoustic Tuesday viewer. This man's name is Kurt, and he's got an awesome acoustic life story. And I'm going to play you a new tune in a tuning that I actually remember this time. So I want you to tune in for that. Remember, you can catch Acoustic Tuesday every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time here on YouTube. And of course, for your Acoustic Tuesday fix in between Tuesdays, please visit acousticlife.tv, where you can learn more about anything I've ever featured on Acoustic Tuesday. Plus, there's some really great guitar articles on there that you need to do a deep dive in, share with your friends, and there's everything from alternate tunings to how to learn guitar from scratch. So please check out acousticlife.tv. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a guitar geek, and remember, we'll see you next Tuesday, and of course, Guitar Geeks Unite. Cheers.